It's 7 o'clock. If we can begin the meeting, if we can all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Can I have the roll call, please?
Mayor Marciano.
Here.
Vice Mayor Litt. Councilmember Marino.
Here.
Councilmember Woods.
Here, ma'am.
Councilmember Lane.
Here.
Are there any additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda?
No, sir.
Thank you. Well, we have some interesting announcements and presentations today. I'm excited to call up those from the Weiss School. They're going to give us an update on the satellite launch. So if the students and teachers, if you could please come to the podium. Please, each of you state your name for the record and introduce yourselves and give us your report. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Right now? Yes. Okay. Hello, my name is Ankit Soretti.
Hello, I'm Theodore Ouyang.
Hello, I'm Samuel Haushi.
Hello, I'm Logan Eskelson.
Hello, I'm Mai Mohanty.
I'm Shauna Christensen.
Hello, I'm Kevin Simmons.
Sorry, well, welcome, and we're excited to hear what you have to say and give us an update.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ankit Soretti, and my colleagues and I are members of the Wolverine CubeSat development team. Last year, we talked to you about our CubeSat, the WISAT-1, which was ready for launch. Now, we'd like to talk to you about our successes and our exciting future. A CubeSat is a smaller satellite that's in the shape of a cube. CubeSats transmit data, scientific research, and more at a more cost-effective rate. CubeSats are considered a disruptive learning tool. CubeSats are also really good for looking at the Earth. Primarily, a couple universities and two high schools were chosen by NASA's CubeSat Launch Initiative program. We were the only middle school to be chosen by NASA, not only once, but twice. Our CubeSat, the WISAT-1, tested extremophile bacteria in harsh conditions in space. Our CubeSat launched on a Falcon 9 rocket in Vandenberg Air Force Base. Our passion ignited for CubeSats like aerospace education and more, thanks to the WISAT-1 success. And now here's Theodore Ouyang to talk about his CubeSat proposal, the FlipSat, which he presented in IAC, which stands for International Astronautical Congress, which is located in Washington, D.C.
Hello, I'm the co-investigator of the FlipSat-1 satellite. The FlipSat-1 satellite is a 2D CubeSat that is testing various methods against radiation protection. It is seeing which methods are most effective for protection. These effects of radiation in the space environment are known as single event offsets, where the radiation will cause problems in the binary code of the satellite. Earlier this year, we were chosen by the International Astronautical Federation to speak at the International Astronautical Congress, where we were able to present to a room filled of people well-versed in the field of space education. During our stay at the International Astronautical Congress, we were able to network with various titans of the space industry, such as STEMRAD, where they supported us in our endeavors with the FlipSat-1 and promised to give us support for our polyethylene radiation hardening for physical protection. After the IAC, we submitted a proposal to the CubeSat Launch Initiative in order to get financial aid for our satellite to be launched. We're currently waiting for results. However, we are hoping to be selected. Next, I'd like to introduce Samar, who was chosen earlier this year for the CubeSat Launch Initiative.
Thank you, Theodore. The Wolverine CubeSat development team submitted 5 CubeSat proposals last year to NASA's CubeSat Launch Initiative. One of those missions, the CapSat-1, was selected among 16 other proposals nationwide in March of this year. I'm the co-investigator of this mission, and it's designed to test and validate a novel capacitor-based electrical power system in a 1U CubeSat. Capacitors are a form of battery that are much smaller and have much greater safety benefits than the regularly used lithium-ion polymer batteries in CubeSats today. As the co-I, it's been my job to make sure that the CapSat-1 is fully developed when it comes to its launch date. A part of this was developing its mission timeline, which estimates its launch date to be around early to mid-2021. The Wolverine CubeSat development team has given me the opportunities and knowledge to communicate and network with component vendors to actually construct the CAPSAT-1 for its required tests and reviews prior to its launch date. Thank you, and I'd now like to introduce Logan Eskildson to talk about our lunar rover and space settlement endeavors.
Thank you. So as Samar and Theo mentioned, the Y School is involved with many projects. So one of these projects is the Amaris Lunar Rover, which students from the Wolverine CubeSat development team hope to build, test, and launch by the year 2022. So the Amaris Lunar Rover has a 2U footprint, which is about 20 centimeters by 10 centimeters, and a 1/2 U height, which is about 5 centimeters. The mission for the Amaris Lunar Rover focuses on both educational and technological validation, with the mission being to focus on the polarization of lunar dust on solar panels, which will provide insight for future lunar rover missions. So not only are we going to build, test, and launch a lunar rover by 2022, but we also participate in 2 annual space settlement competitions, one being a middle school competition that is hosted by NASA Ames, and the other a high school competition hosted by the Future Space Scholars Meet, which is located in China. So just 2 months ago, as a national champion, the Y School was able to go to Beijing, China to compete in the final round of the Future Space Scholars Meet competition. So the general idea for both of these competitions focus on a settlement which can orbit around a moon or a planet that has a society that survives and thrives. So while we were in China, not only did we learn a lot of lessons there, but we also visited during the 70th anniversary of the People's Republic of China. So now here's Maya to talk about public policy.
Thank you. So as most of you know, the Weiss School is very involved with space policy, and our mission statement is to educate, communicate, advocate, and legislate on behalf of space policy. We recognize what we do at our private school is not necessarily available to students in public schools, and we want to change the way that STEM is taught in Florida schools. Currently, we are working with our state representatives and senators to make this idea go through. It's important that students from our school are not only able to work on our satellites, but also be able to speak about what they do. Students from our school also advocate on the local, state, and national level and have attended various events in the past few years. Like I said, in the past few years, we've attended various events such as Florida Space Day, which is a congressional visit where we are allowed to speak with representatives and senators to discuss the space industry in Florida. In addition to that, we've also been invited to speak at the White House, NASA headquarters, and all 29 of Florida congressional offices. And we've also networked and presented to several engineers and professionals at several different conferences, which include the Michigan Space Forum, the Small Satellite Conference in Utah, and the International Astronautical Congress in Washington, D.C. Now here's Ms. Christensen to share with you about our federal advocacies.
As Maya said, one of our passions really is to find a way for students in our local community to be able to do what our students have been able to achieve. And so it really all started about 1.5 years ago, where my debate students, who are also his aerospace students, kind of came together to form a policy team. We developed a very rudimentary resolution, and we reached out to our own representative, Brian Mass. And the idea was, let's increase awareness of the CubeSat launch initiative. If we can do it, maybe other schools can do it. Maybe the issue is they just don't know it exists. So let's increase awareness of that. We were so excited. Not only did they encourage us to actually undertake writing this resolution, they actually did it with us. And so we were happy to report that last year, Representative Mast introduced what you see before you as the HR 109, also known as the WISAT-1 resolution. And we are even more excited to share that while there's Florida bipartisan support, we are working with him again this year to reach out to other states who've really benefited from the use of CubeSats in their educational programs. So when we are there again in February, we are excited that he will be reintroducing that. But all of this really couldn't happen without somebody who can kind of spearhead these efforts. And so here's Kevin Simmons to conclude.
Thank you for the opportunity to share an update concerning our satellite that's on orbit, the one that we're going to put on orbit, and the 3rd and 4th projects we have in the pipeline. So Palm Beach Gardens is one of the few places right now in the world that can boast and say they have a satellite on orbit. I'm here to advocate to you tonight that I think we should have a persistent presence in space. Our kids are going to keep proposing to NASA. We're going to keep building spacecraft. We want to use these vehicles to train these kids to be competitive in the 21st century workforce. One of the most frustrating things for myself, my colleague Shauna, and another teacher is that we train these kids for 3 years and then we have to send them off to high school where they don't have the same opportunities to continue on in aerospace. I would like your help in trying to figure out a way to keep these kids in the pipeline and train them all the way through the university, partnering with universities such as Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University or the Florida Institute of Technology, so that we can not only train but also retain this high-skilled workforce that's already doing great work. Again, thank you for the opportunity. If you had any questions, we'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you very much. The city clerk's going to be passing out the test for everyone to fill out before they leave tonight. No, but thank you very much. I don't know if you feel smarter or less smart after standing next to those brilliant young men and women. So we're very lucky to have such a great school in our city. So we all need to try to find a way to maybe help them out. And I'm looking at our next presenter, and maybe we should have an opportunity to see what we can do to help the Weiss School. Because it is true. I was just thinking about that as we've seen these children in the past couple of years, and they're phasing out of middle school. So what happens to these brilliant minds at the next level? And I don't know what the answer to that is. So
Well, I'll actually tell you a little story, if you don't mind.
please.
2 years ago, twins were here in part of the project, and they actually could not find a high school to go to that would challenge them as much. They are homeschooling and doing college online. So we do have to find a way to have them continue what they're learning.
Yeah.
It's so important. I love this. Palm Beach Gardens has a satellite in orbit. Can I say that again? Palm Beach Gardens has a satellite in orbit.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next presentation. We have FP&L, Mr. Don Kizalewski. If you can come up and just restate your name and give us an update.
Thank you. Yes. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Don Kizalewski, Florida Power and Light Company, External Affairs. I am here tonight with Jerry Sotelo from our customer service team and Michael Fetto from our power delivery team. And you think I would learn my lesson. When we were here getting approval for our solar trees, we followed the Weiss School. And here we are again tonight. I thought we had exciting news, nothing compared to putting things into space. But we are delighted to share with you and take a couple minutes of your time tonight to talk a little bit about a program that we're doing right here in the city with undergrounding some of what we call your neighborhood lines. And we have started a pilot. We are just now getting into our second year of a 3-year pilot where we are going throughout the 35 counties that we serve, looking for those neighborhood lines that are the worst performing and seeing how we can harden them. And by hardening them, we are essentially relocating them to the front of the properties and putting them underground. So we're going to tell you a little bit about what we're doing and why we're doing it here. As you can see, throughout our entire system, the counties that we serve, we have about 60% of our lines from a power delivery, which are the ones that come out of the substations, like we have on Monet, that go through our streets and then serve our homes and businesses. 40% of them are underground. And primarily the ones that have been placed underground to date have come with the development of our state. Developers recognize the benefit of going underground from aesthetic and performance, and then they pass those costs on to the people that acquire those properties. But we are now coming into a phase where we're starting to be more absorbed into our entire network. We talk about the lines that come out of the substation. We have two primary type of lines that come out of those substations. One are what we call the main power lines, which are the feeders that run down the major roads. They are the ones that carry the heavy loads that then go to our neighborhood power lines that primarily run behind the houses, which we refer to as the last mile. And those are the ones that are really at exposure now, because we have been, since 2004, 5, and 6, since we had those terrible storm years, we have been hardening our system. We implemented a program called Storm Secure, and we started with the feeders that were most critical to our communities. We went to make sure the feeders to our ports, to the hospitals, to the police stations were all hardened. We've since moved on to making sure our neighborhood lines are hardened, the ones that run to the Publixes and the malls and the ones that feed all the major buildings in our communities. And now we're essentially done with our feeders. In the next 7 years, all our feeders will be hardened, and we're looking at how we can get into the neighborhoods and ensure that they're hardened as well. As you can see, as a result, during Irma, we all lived through it. We have indeed hardened our lines, but we can only control so much of what happens around our lines. They are usually within easements or right-of-ways that we keep trimmed, but the wind blows the vegetation into our lines. We live in a community, in a state that has a growing season that's 365 days a year. So these are the type of conditions that we deal with on any given storm season. So the extent that we can harden and improve our system, and we are looking at ways that we can do that. And as you can see here, underground lines are improving our ability to harden and provide better reliability, and that's why we are now doing this program. We started, as I mentioned it, in 2018, and we're working with our neighborhoods of how we can implement them. We have identified of the over nearly 50,000 miles of neighborhood lines that we have, that we're going to look at them based on the performance and how we're going to put them in order of which ones we're going to tackle. So first, it's based on how well they performed during Hurricane Irma and Matthew. That, in addition to the ones that obviously have vegetation issues and then day-to-day performance, we rank them and we've identified which projects we're going to work over the next 3 years. As you can see, we have the community right here that is due east of I-95, north of Holly. That is Older Gardens, right behind Gardens, Church in the Gardens. And that's the area that we are targeting for this implementation of the hardening of our laterals. As you can see, we have 188 customers that we're doing outreach to right now. And we're going to walk through, meet with each of them, shake their hands, tell them what we're doing, tell them why we're doing it, and how it's going to benefit them. There are some certain things that we will need from them, not only access, but some of them will require easements for pad mount transformers. With that, I'm going to turn over to Michael, who's going to kind of walk through the changes that your residents will see as we go through this process.
Good evening. My name is Mike Fetto. I'm the lead project manager in FPL's East Region for the Storm Secure Underground program. So I'm just going to explain a little bit about our process as we roll out these projects, particularly this one in Palm Beach Gardens. When we do these projects, we're primarily moving power lines that are existing in the rear of the neighborhoods and behind houses into the front. And we do that by method of directional boring because we're going underground. So one critical component of this project and this program is that we are not digging trenches across everybody's yards. We plan to use directional boring. In the illustration here, you can see that basically it means a pothole on one end of the yard or one end of the street and an underground horizontal drill to have as minimal impact as possible to the residents and to the customers. This is the type of equipment we'll be installing in the front yards of people's homes. On the left, you see there a pad mount transformer. This transformer, it replaces the white or gray cylinders that you'll see on the poles in the backyards. It's the green boxes that you're used to seeing maybe in the front yards. In order to do this, we are asking customers to grant us a 10-foot by 10-foot easement on their property. That easement allows us to install this transformer within their property in order to serve them power. The other thing that would impact the customer is this junction box we're putting on the wall of the house. In order to convert their power actually from overhead to underground, we need a junction box that makes that conversion for us. So we would be removing the line that goes up to the roof of a home, and we'd be installing a gray box in addition to the existing meter can on the home. We'd be installing that gray box. That's what we would run our underground line to. So we're asking our customers to sign an agreement for us to put that box on their wall as well. This is an illustration of kind of the lifespan of the project. On the left, you see what would be a typical neighborhood with the power lines on a pole in the backyard, the transformer on that pole. You'll be used to seeing trees that have been trimmed around the power lines because of the extensive vegetation outages we have, and then you'll see the line from the pole to the house. We'll be removing all those FPL lines from the backyard and moving them underground out to the front, and many times connecting that green transformer, the green box. One thing to point out is that we're only removing the FPL power lines. The pole will remain, as will usually the telecommunication lines on those poles, AT&T, Comcast, et cetera. So that's one key that we need to get across to our customers. There's some photos on the left is our directional boring equipment, so we'll be seeing those in the neighborhoods as we go on with the project, as well as these reels of cable. And then I have a few photos of projects we've already completed. So I wanted to get a little bit really quickly into our customer outreach process. So I've explained to you that we need easements to do this. So we have a solid, very large team of people whose job it is to send out mail, write emails, and make phone calls, as well as visit at their homes the people to explain our process, to obtain any necessary agreements or easements that we need, and just to generally educate the residents and our customers about what it is we're trying to do and why we do it. So we spend a lot of time on customer outreach and a lot of effort. And then this is our finished product. There you can see our new transformer there on the bottom left of the photo. We like to think that it's relatively unobtrusive to these homes. This is not going on every home. On average, once every 6 or 8 homes would have one of those transformers. So that's the general impact of our project. The reliability benefits are very significant. Our underground lines perform much, much better than our overhead lines, particularly during hurricanes. And then you saw earlier that Holly Drive, I-95 area is the project that we are targeting here in Palm Beach Gardens. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you have on our process.
Does anybody have any questions?
One last note before you ask your questions. I will say that this is a 3-year pilot, as I said probably 5 times already. It's going to expire in 2021. The legislature in the last session did pass the Underground Resiliency Act, which enables us to do this statewide. As I mentioned, we have some nearly 50,000 miles of laterals behind houses, so it's going to be about a 30-year plan for us to go ahead and do this throughout our entire territory. But we're delighted that we can do one of them right here in Palm Beach Gardens.
Pardon the laryngitis. What happens if a homeowner refuses?
You want to talk through that?
Sure. So regarding our easements, we're requesting an easement, generally speaking, once every 6 or 8 homes. If there is a customer that does not want to provide that easement for that transformer, we cannot force them, obviously, to give us that easement. That comes back to my engineering team, and we will try our best to design around them, meaning we will usually just ask one of their neighbors if they'd be able to give us that easement. Being that it's only once every 6 or 8 houses, we can usually find a way to make the project work. We don't want to move on from a project once we've already started. Our goal here is to improve that system. However, if there's enough people in the area that simply do not want to, participate in this program, we would cancel the project and move on.
But the lines are going in the right of way, so we're not requiring easement for the lines.
Question. How does this differ from communities like
Jupiter Inlet Colony and Palm Beach Shores?
Palm Beach, I was thinking Palm Beach Shores. When they're doing their hardening, how does it differ?
So they are doing both the feeders, which are the main lines that are running down their main thoroughfares, and they are doing these neighborhood lines. And they are doing them on their schedule, and they're doing them at their expense. There is a contribution of 25% that we share in that. But that's primarily, and they do it much faster. Again, we're doing a small portion of Palm Beach Gardens right now, and I don't know if we'll have another project, in the near future. Answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Yep.
I'm sorry, the cost was being, but how did that, you mentioned it earlier and it went
It's
through.
it's a pilot program that's being absorbed in our rates, and it's not of any additional cost substantially to the residents there. It's through all of our rates that they're being.
That's for the
pilot's being
pilot
run.
program, and after the pilot program, if it.
And after the
if
pilot
it
program,
continues?
that's correct. It'll be part of the Underground Resiliency Act, and then we can put it into the rates as well, but it'll be over 30 years, so there's not sticker shock on our rates.
Thank you. Carl, do you have any questions?
No, I think you kind of answered all of them. The obvious question is that when we do have these hurricanes, you know, you're going to be able to be back online as quick as possible. But my question is how fast can you get the whole city done? And it doesn't look like you're going to be able to do it.
The city of Palm Beach Gardens fared very well during Irma. It's because a good percentage of your lines are already underground. So I will say you came up a lot faster than some of your neighboring communities. Each storm is different, though.
Well, we are the most important community.
I'll tell Juno
So
you
make
said
sure
that.
we're at the top of the list.
And the best city in the state, so.
We don't need to talk about that.
Thank you for your
in
time.
public.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Don.
Thank you very much for your presentation, and I'm sure the people in that community are going to be pretty happy since they are the first ones to go. Items of resident interest and board committee reports. Let's start with Carl on my left today.
The only thing different I did this month, besides the meetings, I'll let you guys talk about the groundbreaking stuff that we went through the other day, which was pretty awesome. Was I attended Sable Ridge's homeowners association, and the reason why I'm bringing it up is because they're having over the years, with their passport or whatever the case is, they've come across some serious infrastructure issues that's going to take a raise of their association fees, which affects their community. Sable Ridge is on Military Trail at Elm to the left. And I asked Jody, who is the property manager for Sable Ridge, she's got a big voice. She's asked me to go over there the last 2 or 3 years. And I wanted her to get more like introduced to the city and its staff, because they're going to have tree removal problems. They're having, Jody, you can speak up if you want. They're having issues with the road and our drainage, and FP&L is going to be involved with repairing all this stuff. That's okay. So she's going to come back in January and kind of like give us an update. And one of the reasons why I bring it up is because it's a perfect location for affordable housing. Once they get this done, they're going to have to regrade the entire development, which is to the tune of 80-something thousand for their first project, and then go on to everything else to bring it up to, not code, but to bring it up where the community is, being beautified one project at a time. And property value is going to go up, but, it's on my radar, and I wanted it to be on your all's radar for affordable housing, because be a great place to put teachers, cops, and that kind of thing. So I'm looking forward to Jody coming back and just getting to know everything. We're going to introduce her to staff to make sure everything gets done correctly. And we've had other communities start ripping down trees without permission and so on and so on. So we'll help and make sure you get exposed to. This is Ron Ferris. He's the tip of the sword around here. And we'll deal with it as we go. But, I appreciate your hard work. And, we want Sable Ridge to be as good as it can be in the city. So thank you.
Thanks, Carl. I think that's very important that you brought that up. Our city is big, and some of our communities are small, but they're all equally important. So Carl's taken the lead with you, Jody, and you're welcome to come back and work with Carl and through the staff to make sure that the community gets what it needs. We'll move down to Maria. You want to take next?
Sure, you got 5 minutes?
Hey, whatever you got. I don't know if everyone else wants the 5.
It was a really, really busy month, but the usual suspects, Chamber of Commerce of the Palm Beaches, Chairman's reception. I want to send congratulations to the Honorable Rick Rekenes, as he now has become this year's chair. PGA National had their Veterans Day celebration. Sam, thank you for having me there. I appreciate it. Village of North Palm Beach and the City of Palm Beach Gardens had their wonderful Veterans Day events, which the council attended. And really another shout out goes to Lauren Bergson for her tireless efforts with the Gold Star Memorial, that we have a plaque out front, and North Palm Beach also has a plaque, and she's been working her tail off, and I don't think there was a dry eye in the house, so I'm not going to keep talking because then I won't have one. The League of Cities, I presented at their technical committee meeting the Smart and Connected Regions Initiative and the technical grant that was done by the City of Palm Beach Gardens. I had the honor of traveling home to my hometown of Norwalk, Connecticut to receive the, I hate this, Old Timers Athletic Association Award. And I said, wait, I'm not old, so can't it be like hometown hero or something? But I was very happy to be sponsored by my high school class of 1976. And it's really humbling to go back and hear some of the things that you forget that you've done. So, and I want to thank the city for their sponsorship too, because all of the proceeds from the event went to athletic scholarships. The PGA Corridor had their annual association reception. Mirasol did a great job. We were all there. The Transportation Planning Agency, of which I chair, has a workshop to discuss the county's long-range transportation changes from 2040 to 2045. Very interesting conversation going there, and we'll keep you posted. History on the Rocks at the South Florida Fairgrounds. Rochelle, you don't mind I'm telling you stuff that you were, so you don't have to say it. So Rochelle and I were there, as were 450 other people. It was a really nice event, and it was their first time doing it, and we got to walk through the historical village. So if you haven't done that in the future, it's a great thing to do. The following week, I traveled to San Antonio to receive the Woman of Excellence Award from the National Foundation for Women Legislators. And it's an organization made up of over 5,000 nationally elected women. I don't think I shared that with anybody. I didn't. Palm Beach North Chamber breakfast we all attended with Sharon Bach, who did an amazing job. And if you want to know what the Clerk of Courts does, the extent of what she does is, and her office, what they do is massive. And please visit their website, because they are the checks and balances of the county, and they are writing the checks. So visit their website, lots of information. The Central Chambers Farm City Luncheon at South Florida Fairgrounds with Agricultural Commissioner Nikki Freed. I did a PGA members speakers series State of the City presentation, FAU groundbreaking. Several of us were at the Forum Club luncheon with Javier Pena and Steve Murphy, the men who took down Pablo Escobar. Pretty scary stuff. And I know we're talking about it later. Had the honor of going down to the Miracle League Kick Up Your Boots fundraiser at their field in Delray Beach. And they are in some need of some serious dollars for that field, as it is really threadbare. And I was very proud that the city, and we'll talk about on consent, but I'm very proud of the City of Palm Beach Gardens for partnering with the Miracle League. These kids, they get to be kids. They get to be outside. This is an organization for handicapped children, and they just get to be kids out on a baseball field and have so much support and so many mentors that help them. So anything that we can do is really above and beyond, and they could use it. I volunteered at the Big Heart Brigade Thanksgiving efforts, and of course the usual Palm Beach County League of City Board meeting and luncheon. Rochelle attended that also. North County Tennis Challenge at Ballin Isles. I want to thank our tennis pros for being in this first ever exhibition match of all of our tennis pros from around the county. It was fun to see all the different communities come together and cheering on their pros, and it was a worthwhile fundraiser. And it went to autism, because we do our tennis program. We have a tennis program for autism, so it was a really natural tie-in. I was a presenter at the joint meeting of the Palm Beach County Legislative Delegation and League of Cities. We talked about transportation, housing, and water. Finally, Arcadia groundbreaking, where everyone from the council except Rochelle, because she was not even a dog, was there, and it was nice to finally see Arcadia Gardens at that juncture, because, as I said, it was 3.5 years ago when I first sat down with Malcolm Sina and saw their first iteration, and to now see a facility that will really benefit the seniors in our community, it's a great thing to see, and they are good partners for the City of Palm Beach Gardens. And finally, many of us, Rochelle, Matt, were you guys there? at the mixer today? Okay, so the rest of us, we were at the Palm Beach North Annual Holiday Mixer and Supply Drive for Quantum House, and I am done.
Matt?
Okay, what I don't know is how Rochelle got a doctor to come here and make a house call and bring her cough drops. So welcome to Dr. Litt. Want to begin with the holidays coming to wish my fellow council members, our staff, and all of the public a Merry Christmas, a Hanukkah Sameach, and healthy New Year and a Happy New Year.
Kwanzaa.
Merry Christmas, Hanukkah.
And Kwanzaa. And a happy Festivus for the rest of us if you're a Seinfeld fan. And that was said for Joe Russo, who used to say that. Some highlights of my month include the following. But before I get to that, I need to tell you all about a Hanukkah program. This is our third annual event. It's going to be on December 22nd, a little over 2 weeks at 4 p.m. at Palm Beach Gardens City Hall. There will be a giant menorah lighting with the council and local clergy and leaders in the community, a rock and roll band, rock climbing, bungee jumping, bounce houses, arts and crafts, face painting, and latkes and donuts for everyone. There's going to be a contest for who can build the nicest menorah with a $500 prize for the nicest menorah if you happen to be under 12 years old.
Are you singing again?
Want to say what?
I said, are you singing again?
No, they voted. Okay, highlights of my month. November, and by the way, Patty, I'll spell Sameach afterward for Hanukkah Sameach. Okay, on November 8th, Mark and I attended a Government Affairs Committee meeting at the Chamber at 7:45. We did a ribbon cutting at Chase Bank at 9, and we did a beautiful Veterans Day ceremony at Duncan Middle School at 9:45. And then on November 11th, Palm Beach Gardens had an incredible Veterans Day celebration. It was first class in every way, the way Ron Ferris does everything. And at that time, we were able to honor our veterans, Carl Woods, Ron Ferris, Max Lohman, Chief Stepp. Thank you so much for your service. On the 14th, we had the PGA Quarter Association event at Mirasol. On the 19th, there was an NCNC meeting where we heard from County Traffic Engineer David Ricks. On the 21st, FAU had an anniversary celebration and groundbreaking for their new Science Center. On the 27th, I attended a beautiful interfaith Thanksgiving service that was sponsored by Temple Beth Am, Jupiter First, and St. Peter's, and Father Don gave a very inspiring sermon. On the 4th, there was Arcadia Gardens groundbreaking, and today we all went to the Chamber holiday party. And with that, Rochelle, turning it over to you. Good luck.
I think between everybody, I'm pretty well covered on my activities. But I did want to say that with the end of filing on Monday, that it is definitely an honor and a privilege to be able to continue to serve the residents of this great city for another 3 years.
Yeah, what she said. I agree. So I know that it's not necessarily what democracy asks, that we should have elections for every election, but maybe with term limits, we're going to see a little bit of change in how that works. But either way, I'm honored to be able to serve another 3 years with Rochelle, and I wish Matthew and Chelsea the best of luck in their election. It was a busy month, starting with Government Affairs, the Chase Bank ribbon cutting, Duncan Middle School, and Carl actually received a nice little recipient of from the students there. It was great. North Palm Beach and the Gardens Veterans Day celebration. A lot of compliments. So well done to the staff that put it. Palm Beach North Chamber lunch for the Women of the Year. Discovery Village Honor Flight Variety Show. Rochelle and I went to that. Kind of a neat facility, and I was a little disappointed with Marilyn Monroe, but that's okay. PGA Corridor Association meeting. We did go to the Scusi restaurant grand opening, which is going to be fantastic. The Chamber breakfast, FAU STEM, groundbreaking, Jay Morton planning anniversary reception, Young Singers of the Palm Beaches. Rochelle and I went and saw Santa and Mrs. Claus, not the official ones, but the unofficial ones. That's Sandhill Crane on Sunday, which was very nice. Groundbreaking at Arcadia Gardens. I met with, today actually, I did not go to the Chamber event because I was at Drive Shack playing a little bit of golf for the Catholic Charities, and I wish I was still there because everyone was having a great time, and it's a really cool facility if anyone has not been there yet. It's a big bowling alley, basically, with golf clubs instead, which I thought was kind of neat. And then today I did meet with Dr. Nika Coleman-Farrell at the Palm Beach State College. I know we have a couple of students here, so I'm going to end my discussion. Oh, by the way, happy Thanksgiving and happy holidays, and don't forget tomorrow night, Friday night, 6 o'clock. I think it was somewhere, 6 o'clock, tree lighting at Burns Road Recreation Center. I look forward to everyone being there, and we will definitely be at the Hanukkah event on the 22nd as well. So I'm going to move out of that, and I'm going to move into comments from the public. I have 2 cards, and the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to ask our student, Matan Siskind, if he can come on up to the podium and say your name, address for the record, and give us 3 minutes of whatever is on your mind.
If you don't mind, I'm going to bring...
Of course. Introduce all 3 of you if you can with your name and address.
Absolutely, yeah. My name is Matan Siskins. I'm the student body president at Palm Beach State College at the Gardens campus. And the address is 216 Coniston Road.
Thank you.
My name is Augustine Sosa. I am the Legislative Affairs, Director of Legislative Affairs. And my address is 11077 Nutmeg Drive, Palm Beach Gardens 33418.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Brennan Rodriguez. I am the Director of Communications for the Palm Beach State College Student Government Association.
Thank you.
First of all, thank you guys for doing everything that you do. We're really here tonight just to, as our semester concludes here, and we've got a lot done, we wanted to come here to the council and thank you for your tremendous support for our college. I can see a couple of familiar faces up there. Mr. Lane, thank you very much for coming to our 9/11 event earlier, a great success earlier in the semester. Also, Mayor Marciano for that, and Mrs. Marino for coming throughout the years to our SGA meetings. The support that we get from the council gives us an opportunity at our campus to really have a place to learn and grow in a beautiful environment. In fact, we hosted a statewide student government conference last November where all 28 state colleges throughout the state came to the city to attend the conference. And we went to another conference this year a couple weeks ago, and the students were still coming up to us from last year telling us how great of an experience it was to be here on our campus in Palm Beach Gardens. So everything that you do is really appreciated by our students, by our student government, and we'd like to build stronger relationships with the council, with other members of the community. And again, thank you on behalf of Palm Beach State Gardens Campus Student Government for everything that you guys do. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. And yes, I think it's a great partnership that the students have with us. We are always very available. I know the staff looks at the Palm Beach State College campus as a real piece of the puzzle for North County and for our city. So whatever we can do to engage with you guys, and please invite all of us. We're always going to be willing to come and answer any questions. It's great to see young people with an interest in politics, despite all the rancor that you hear in Washington. At the local level, we can do some good things, and your future is going to be a big part of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I just wanted to make one last comment. I've heard a lot being said here at the council, and I know you guys are handling a lot of business here in this great city. I just want to let you know, at the Gardens campus, at Palm Beach State College, it really they're transforming lives. I'll tell you, in my, my experience, when I graduated high school, my dad was undergoing open heart surgery. Going to a four-year school was not, an option for me at the time. And what Palm Beach State has offered me is an opportunity to work, help out my family while still getting my associate's degrees. So I know that there's a lot going on in this great city, but something, that is really a shining part of it is right down the street on PGA on our campus. And again, thank you all for helping us out and making that happen. So.
Well, I think that's exactly what America's all about. Thank you. Watch out for these young men and women from Palm Beach State College. They're going to do some great things. Next is Tom Carnes. Name and address for the record.
Excuse me, Tom Carnes, 3101 PGA Boulevard. Tonight I'm here on behalf of the PGA Quarter Association, and I'd just like to say congratulations. I mean, I was here when the satellite went up, or they were sending satellite up, and I thought, boy, that went right over my head, literally and figuratively. And then tonight hearing them talk, this is absolutely incredible what the Weiss School is doing. And the PGA Quarter Association, we do programs with them. I don't know if we do them every year, but we've done a couple of them. And just great to have them here in the community. And we've always had the State College here has always been on our member of the PGA Quarter Association. And as you all know, we've had them on the board as well. And, we've had a lot of our fireside chat programs over there as well. So we participate a lot in the community. Speaking of which, it was good to see all of you at our annual reception that this year we held at Marisol. We used to have it at the River House, and then when they closed the upper level, we had to move it out. We've been at Marisol, and hopefully we'll be able to rent that again next year. So it's good to see you there. We'd like you to keep in mind that on January 8th, we have Hank Fishkind giving his annual economic forecast, and that's always great. I think that's pretty much sold out already. That's a very popular event. And then following that, I think the next thing we're all looking forward to is the Honda. We'll have the Honda kickoff party over at the mall, and then, we've all got the Honda to deal with, and that certainly is exciting times. And I don't know who's in charge of the good weather for that. Usually it's Michelle. The torch has been passed.
The Vice Mayor's always in charge of the weather.
The weather, so good luck with that. And then after that, we have the state of the city with the new mayor, so got to get ready for that. And then we'll have several other programs as the year goes on. I'd like to conclude with echoing what Matt had said, wishing everyone happy holidays and good wishes. And if there's anything you need from us, let us know. If there's anything you want Hank Fishkind to address in his annual economic forecast, let us know that as well. We'll have him put it in the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. City Manager report.
As you know, at the beginning of the sales tax, surcharge tax, we began a lot of projects, around $30 million that we bonded to be able to begin those projects. And as we went ahead with the programs, I told you that we would come back periodically and give you updates of how we're moving along in those projects. And with that, we have a David Reyes here, Community Services Administrator. He's also the Emergency Management Director. And David, he has a tremendous staff. I think they're mostly here. Angela, stand up. Is Jennifer here? For my engineers, stand up, Angela. I know you hate it. Stand up, Todd. You got any of your other staff?
Corey.
Corey's in the back. Oh, there he is, Corey.
Joe.
Joe. In most governments, you'll find they go out and hire a bunch of engineers and project managers and administrators to run an expanded program, like we had 30-some projects that we threw on this group of people and some of their staff members which aren't here. And in keeping with the Garden's philosophy, the way we do things, we pulled from staff, put a team together and said, run with it. David is a leader of the pack. Can't tell you how much David probably hates seeing me most of the time, but nevertheless, we get things done because we have such a great group of employees and a great team, and they're not afraid to take more on. David actually had hair before we took on these projects, but he's... Yes.
That's true.
But anyway, I won't say any more other than I'm very proud of these people, of what they have done and what they're doing and what they're about to do. Thank you, Dave.
Good evening. And the only time I'm scared to see Ron is if he's carrying a pink paper with him. Then I'm a little concerned. As long as there's no pink papers, I'm good. I do want to also echo city managers by also saying that this team goes even bigger than our team right here, but every department in the city is part of this whole capital program, and it's great to be able to just coach and coordinate, but every department here works, from planning, police, fire, golf, so everybody's part of this, and that's why this is so successful. So I'm really kind of excited to give you some good news and the progress that we have on all the projects. So for the record, David Reyes, Community Services Administrator. So currently, we have 53 active projects. 11 of those projects were added in this fiscal year, so they're new projects for this fiscal year, for a total of just over $71 million in projects that we have. The first 4 projects that I'm going to be talking about and giving you an update are the ones that are funded under the 1 cent sales tax. The first one is our Gardens District Park. The construction for this project started in March of 2018. We had a grand opening for this park in June in 2019, just over 1 year from starting the construction to opening up the park. So this park is currently open to the public. Right now, staff just working on some additional amenities just to enhance the park, such as some preserve enhancing, large group pavilion, and some additional playgrounds. And also happy to report that this project is also within budget. Another project also funded under the 1 cent sales tax is our new operations center. This 37,400 square feet facility merged both public works and public services divisions both into one roof, one building, for a total of 75 employees that are actually now working out of this facility that used to be spread out throughout the city. Construction for this project started in September of 2018, and the project was completed in 2019. So this is another project that's already been completed. Staff moved into the building October of 2019, and we're currently operating out of this building. We're currently working on an open house, so be able to have the public come in and enjoy the facility and see it. So we're looking at February of 2020, but we don't have an exact date. Once we do, we'll be sharing that information with you all. Next projects are our City Hall renovations and expansion. This project includes an addition of over 16,000 square feet and renovating just over 9,000 square feet on the existing footprint of the building. This project started in March of 2019, and the estimated completion for the expansion portion of the work is to March of 2020, and followed by the renovations is expected to be completed by July of 2020. And the next project was also funded under the 1 cent sales tax is the police department renovations. This project includes renovation of just over 6,000 square feet on the existing building. We already started that project. The demolition work started in November of 2019, and we estimate this project to be completed by April of 2020. So these 4 projects are all the ones that were funded under the 1 cent sales tax, 2 already completed, and 2 that are over 50%, close to completion. There's a couple other projects that I also want to share an update with you. The first one is Gardens Park's Baseball Complex. This project includes construction of a regulation size baseball field, a practice field,
Did Dawn and Jerry already leave? Can we go get them, bring them back in, and tell them to hurry up?
Try to expedite.
Yeah, I was thinking about that while they were sitting here. Thank you very much, David, for the update. Obviously, we're all very proud of what you and the team have done. Makes the city look great, makes it more efficient, good use of the 1 cent sales tax dollars. And I always just chime in about how great those fields are. I was picking up my son from practice the other night, just walking through, just so impressed with how well the sod is holding, how nice the fields are. I know that there's a rotation of opening and closing. Parents just walking around the fields, getting some exercise while their kids are getting a lot more exercise than the parents probably are. But that's just a great facility for the city and everything else that's going on. Does anybody have any questions for David or for staff?
Just a big thank you, because what the city has accomplished and the proper use of the dollars and in the timing of it, being able to do all the projects at once and really have an economy of scales is important and impressive. And the fact that the city was able to go out and borrow the money at 2.2% and get this done and not wait to just get $3 million a year for the next 10 years really says a lot for how we position ourselves in the community, and it says a lot about our finance director too for always having the right budget for us. So I just wanted to say thank you.
All right, let's move on to the consent agenda. If everyone wants to review, does anybody have any questions? Can I get a motion and a second to approve?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And yes, in the consent agenda is the discussion about the construction for the Miracle League and the funding for it, and that's going to be a great addition for the city and for the program. Okay. Well, we've got one item on the agenda. Sorry. Tonight, we're holding a quasi-judicial hearing on the following cases. Resolution 67, 2019, Avenir Pod 1 and 3 Site Plan Amendment. This means that the City Council is required by law to base its decision on the evidence contained in the record of this proceeding, which consists of the testimony at the hearing, the materials which are in the official city file on this application, and any documents presented during this hearing. The Council is also required by law to allow cross-examination of any witnesses who testify tonight. Cross-examination may occur after the staff, the applicant, and other participants have made their presentations and will be permitted in the order of the witness's appearance. It is necessary that anyone who testifies at the hearing remain until the conclusion of the hearing in order to be able to respond to any questions. If you plan to testify this evening or wish to offer written comments, please fill out a card and give it to the city clerk. The city clerk will now swear in all persons who intend to offer testimony this evening on any of these cases or this case.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Thank you. Resolution 67, 2019. Can the clerk please read the title?
Resolution 67, 2019, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, approving a site plan amendment to approve residential models, residential lot landscaping, and an upgraded entry feature for residential pods 1 and 3 of site plan number 1 within the Avenir Plan Community Development PCD that is generally located on the north side of North Lake Boulevard, east of Greatview Boulevard, west of Bay Hill Drive, and south of Beeline Highway, as more particularly described herein, providing conditions of approval, providing an effective date, and for other purposes.
Thank you. I'll open the public hearing. Are there any ex partes? I have. Rochelle? Anyone else have an ex parte?
Spoke with Ken Tuma today. That's it.
I have an ex parte as well. I met with the applicants, and I also sat with Ken on Monday to clarify a couple of questions. Maria? No? And Matthew, do you have any ex partes regarding Resolution 67?
I spoke to Ken Tuma.
Okay, thank you. All right, so can I get a presentation? Obviously, you've been sworn in, Ken?
Good evening, Ken Tuma with Urban Design Kilday Studios. My address is 610 Clematis Street, and I have been sworn in this evening. Here this evening for Avenir, but on behalf of Toll Brothers, and we have 3 Toll Brothers representatives, including their division president, in the audience this evening, and they'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. What is in front of you this evening is architectural upgrades and landscape upgrades from the original approval of site plan number 1. If you recall, during site plan number 1, we had a process where the developer hadn't picked who the builder was at that time, so we couldn't move forward with models. Well, now Toll Brothers has bought and closed on 2 parcels of land within the Avenir development, and before you tonight is their proposed models and architectural elevations. I have a presentation that is about 20 minutes, but I'm going to narrow it down to 10 minutes with your permission as I move through it, and if you need additional information, I'm happy to walk through it. So as identified earlier, with the request in front of you this evening are the entry features for the 2 parcels of land, the architectural models, and upgraded landscaping. The 2 parcels are located here on Avenir Drive, parcel 1 in the southeast corner, and parcel 3 over here on the left-hand side of your screen. And just to give you a flare of what the architecture style is going to look like as we move through the process, you can see the Antilles design for the Torrance model. So there are 2 parcels that Toll Brothers have closed upon. The first one is Pod 1, which is a larger lot. It's 98 single-family homes. They're 70 feet wide, and it is called Watermark. The other one is Pod 3 on the left-hand side, a little smaller lot, 50-foot lots by 140 feet deep, and those will be 119 single-family homes. Again, the site plan has been previously approved. What is in front of you this evening is the architectural elements and the landscaping. So in Pod 1, or in Watermark, if I get it correctly, in Watermark, the upgraded entry feature is on the screen in front of you. It is an 18-high-foot element. It has a metal roof structure. It has the oak color, and then it also has the oolite stone on the parcels of the project, which was consistent as the owners of Avenir have required that all of the entry elements have the oolite stone to make it consistent throughout the project. Then you'll note this is a water feature, thus the name Watermark. There's a water feature here. You can see the water coming out of the sides of the building, but it has a little bit better view as you look at it in different perspectives. So this is the rear elevation of the building. You notice the landscaping and the oak, and then of course the metal roof on top. And here on the right-hand side of the screen shows where the water feature. There'll be water coming up and bubbling over and around the signage as proposed. This is the entry to site plan number, to parcel number 3, a little bit different form of architecture, same concept, an 18-foot high structure. On the one side, on the side that is going towards the unit where this tree and medjool palm is located, you'll note that this is a 6-foot trellis feature. On the left-hand side is a 15-foot trellis feature, and again, the oolite stone being consistent throughout all of Avenir. And here's some separate views, the rear elevation on the left-hand side of your screen, and then the front elevation on the right-hand side of your screen. All of these meet your requirements within the city's code for signage and width and height. The lot landscaping, so there's individual lot landscaping. The lot landscaping between the two set of parcels are very similar. The 70-foot lots have a little bit more landscaping because they have a little bit more room in front of them. But so very quickly, let me walk you through a few items here. The first item on the lot landscaping in front of you is a 50 by 140 foot lot. This is a Sabrina model. The area identified in green are shade trees. The area identified in the bottom right-hand side is an accent tree. And then you'll notice palm trees throughout the lot. Now, your staff has done a great job of reviewing this, and one of the things that we learned going through the process is that each individual house was very different and created different types of landscaping required. So what the proposal that is in front of you this evening requires is it sets a minimum level or a minimum quantity of plant material for each lot. Now, the trees potentially will be in different orientation. Not every lot's going to look like this, a perfect rectangle. Some are pie lots, some are on lakes, some are, so the trees aren't necessarily going to be specific as where they show on this drawing, but the minimum quantity will be established. So this is another view of a lot. This lot shows an optional pool. Again, the same amount of landscaping on the lot spread out a little bit differently with some different options, but that will be the minimum amount of landscaping. Toll Brothers, as part of their sales process, will have each homeowner come in and say, do you want more landscaping? Here's what we can do, and do different designs for each one. On the right-hand side of your screen is what occurs if it's a corner lot. So, for example, if it's on a road. Now, this is split in half on the screen in front of you. This shows if it's a left-hand side lot or a right-hand side lot that faces a street. Then you have additional landscaping on that enhanced side, so that street corner has more landscaping adjacent to it. And this is the same thing on a 70-foot lot. I'm going to click through this fairly quickly. You can see the shade trees. Here are the accent trees, and here are the palm trees. Again, establishing a minimum quantity can be spread out throughout the entire lot. Same view as before as the 50-foot lots. Here's a 70-foot lot identifying both the optional pool, and then here you'll note where the side lots could be. In regards to architectural diversity, this is actually a very important point, and we appreciate staff pointing this out to us and working with us through this. The projects have a significant amount of diversity, the individual lots here. There are 6 models in parcel 1 with 4 architectural styles. A model is the floor plan, so there are 6 different floor plans, and then each one of them have 4 different types of skins on each of them, and I'm going to walk you through that. So there are 24 basic choices in parcel 1 alone, and then in parcel 3 there are 5 floor plans with 4 architectural styles. And to give you an idea of what the different architectural styles, they're on the screen in front of you: the coastal style, the Antilles style, the West Indies styles, and I'll walk through that in a little bit more detail. One of the items, though, also is the anti-monotony. So basically how it works, you don't want to have the same house next to each other. It looks very silly, right? So there's anti-monotony built into the regulations. The anti-monotony says you can't have more than 3 of the same floor plan next to one another. You can have up to 3 of the same floor plans next to one another. But what you can't do is have the same elevation. So it has to be a different skin, a different look on either side or across the street. So that's what the anti-monotony rules say. Now, there's a lot of words on the screen, but that's in essence what they said. Also, there are 24 different color packages on those models, so you'll see a significant amount of diversity in paint and in other items that are incorporated within the chart that is on the screen in front of you. If there is fencing, the fencing will be consistent. It was approved as part of the original site plan, so if a lot owner wants to have fencing, it has to be a black aluminum fence. And then if in the future, or if Toll Brothers offers it as an option, if someone wants to have a pool enclosure, that pool enclosure will have to be a black metal frame with black screening, so it's consistent throughout the entire community. There are also, to create that streetscape, each garage door within each style is different. You'll note that there are four separate garage doors for each one of those architectural elevations. So a quick look at one of the models. I'll spend a couple minutes on this. This is a Sabrina model. In front of you, this is the Antilles screen, the Antilles skin on the model. And the Antilles, you can note, seeing the landscaping. This is a photorealistic rendering of the landscaping, but you can see the detail and the architecture, how the windows are squared, how the brackets form, and how the entire building comes together. The Antilles is kind of that classic Caribbean plantation home design. And you can see the cladding, the accent cladding, the brackets, and all the items that make it an Antilles style of architecture. So that skin changes. Now, there are basically four skins, the one that we just spoke about. This is the Antilles model, or the Antilles skin. Again, that cladding, the cladding, the Dutch gables are a key element to that. You can note in how the windows operate. So that's one of the skins in that same floor plan. The second one is the Boca Raton. You have that city down south, the 1920s and 1930s heavy Mediterranean style architecture. You can see the stucco and the cladding, a consistent theme within the Boca Raton. There's also these kind of hard edges are an important element, and the brackets for the Boca Raton elevation. The next one is a West Indies. Kind of the West Indies is that Spanish style of architecture. You can see the stucco, the gable roofs, the shed roofs. A good pickup from your planning and zoning board said we had these actually as metal shed roofs, and the planning and zoning board said, hey, why don't you make this consistent with the type of architecture, the rest of the building type of elements, so it is now consistent with the roof material. You'll notice the same thing over the garage element. That's the classic West Indies style. And then here's the coastal style. The coastal style is that 20th century beach house look. You can see the shutters, the brackets, the rafter tails underneath this element here, and then of course the cladding is kind of a classic element within the coastal style design. Again, so basically, I just went through one model or one floor plan. In each floor plan, you then have those 4 options of skins, and then you have those 24 options of color. So a significant amount of diversity in there. There are also side elevations, and the side elevations are critical to Avenir and critical to the city, and your staff's done a great job working with Toll Brothers on these side elevations. So there are side elevations that are enhanced, meaning that if it's on the corner, it has extra look, and on the left-hand side, you'll see those enhanced elevations. You'll also note that the rear elevations wrap around 10 additional feet. So if you're looking at a house that is on a lake, 2 houses on one side of the lake, one on the other, when you look at the rear elevation and you look to the side, you'll note that the architecture's carried around 10 additional feet because you can see that on angles from different parts of the house. Same thing on the right-hand side of the slot. On the right-hand side are elevations that when a house is side to side in essence. So you don't have the same amount of architectural detail because you can't see it. It's not the most appropriate spot to put it. But you'll note that the architectural details wrap back about 10 feet on each side. So as you're driving down the street, you can look and you'll be able to see the architectural detail, but you won't see it you won't have it all the way down the side of the house where it's not visible. And that's consistent throughout every one of the models. In Boca Raton model, you'll notice that the water table continues consistently all the way down the side on the enhanced elevation. On the non-enhanced elevation, it returns back approximately 10 feet. And that's consistent through the Boca Raton model. On the coastal model, same thing. On the enhanced elevation, where you can see it, it has this beautiful look. And then on the left elevation, on the right-hand side of your screen, that just returns about 10 feet, so as you're driving down the street, you'll still be able to see it. And the same thing again with the West Indies, that architectural elevation returns back on the non-enhanced elevations. So to give you a look of what it really looks like in the pretty picture, which is more fun, you can see here, this is the model, the Clearwater floor plan, and then you'll note the Boca Raton style of architecture, the stucco, the hard edges, the way the windows relate to the street. This is a 2-story model, and it also shows It also shows a diversity of landscape that's available. So you basically have a palette of landscaping. Each palette of accent tree, shrub, a palm, there are a plethora of choices within those, so it creates that diversity throughout the project. Now, I can walk you through another model if you'd like, of a similar design, or we can go ahead and skip to the end.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're good. I figured that would be the reaction. But let me walk you through a couple pretty pictures. So we've got this, that we spent a lot of money and a lot of time and effort and energy. I don't want these gentlemen to feel like they need to get their beautiful picture out there, because this also sales too. So what you see in front of you is the West Indies on the Clearwater model, a beautiful, clean look. This is the other Clearwater. This is the coastal elevation, and is my favorite elevation and my favorite model on the project. I think it looks beautiful. So for site plan number 1, this is the request that is in front of you. There are no waivers, and your city staff and planning and zoning board have recommended approval. Planning and zoning board recommended unanimously, and we look forward to your support this evening. If you have any question, the whole team is here. Thank you.
So just as a refresher, this was an application that went to planning and zoning a few months back, and with the suggestions of the planning and zoning at the time, the applicant and the staff went back and looked at some of the requests of the planning and zoning board, and I just wanted to be grateful for the process that this city puts together. You know, none of us up here are architects and none of us are builders, so we don't really think about the details that the planning and zoning board asked and put together. And I think that's the whole point. So yes, it might have been a little bit of a delay in getting to the end, but this city has a high set of standards. And being a part of this city will allow you the confidence that it's going to be a wonderful project. So even though sometimes the projects might, it might feel like, well, why are they making us do this? And why do we have to do that? And I hear that a lot. I'm sure you guys hear the same thing. Why is this requirement this and why? Well, there's a reason for it, and there's a process. And the city staff did an excellent job working with the planning and zoning department and with your applicant. So thank you as the applicants to work with us to make sure that you're going to have an excellent project and a product that's going to sell great, I think. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a comment, Mark.
Go ahead, Mark.
Toll Brothers has a history of building a high-quality product that will add value to the gardens. So I want to thank you for coming into the gardens and investing in our community. And I welcome you, and we welcome you to the gardens.
Fred's right there.
Rochelle, you have a question?
I just want to say it's nice to have a project come before us with no waivers. And thank you for working within the system and with planning and zoning on this project. It's going to be beautiful.
Maria?
Mine's actually an overall comment about Avenir on its own. This was actually, the approval for Avenir was my second vote on council. And we, as a city, did something very special. And I know the county is trying to float a bond right now, a water and environment bond. And that, a lot of what they're trying to do and what the county is trying to accomplish is because of something the city of Palm Beach Gardens did along with partnering with Avenir and putting those 2,400 acres into conservancy, which will connect 100,000 acres of flowway at no cost to the taxpayer. And if we hadn't worked with Avenir and the partners at Avenir, they could have just chopped up that land and sold it piece by piece, and the city wouldn't have recognized or realized any of the benefits that we have right now, including the parks and including the 50 acres of economic development. So as we go through these site improvements, it's important to remember that we are all partners in this, and we are actually the leaders. And the fact that we've been able to, we've been able to connect 100,000 acres of water because of this project that is going to connect those. I don't know, I think that's fabulous. And Toll Brothers, thank you for being a partner with us.
Carl?
Just real short. I think, Ken, when we talked about this the first time 6 months ago with the issues with planning and zoning, remember we kind of all agreed to go back and maybe give them a more global picture of how it all connects. And that's going to work going forward, right? Because now we've got planning and zoning. So if we can continue that same streamline, it makes our jobs easier because Natalie's going to do her job, we know that, and then planning and zoning is going to do their job. So when we've got, you know, an overall vote from planning and zoning and staff approves it, it makes us go through the flow much, you know, quicker, and we don't question as much, because last time we came to a halt with the P&Z stuff. So I appreciate going back and you know, working with planning and zoning and giving them a more global presentation so they can understand, you know, all the pieces of it. And it's beautiful. I mean, Avenir is a ton of work before this council. This council is going to have a ton of work, and Avenir will be exactly what Palm Beach Gardens wants and desires because of staff, Natalie, you know, and our P&Z, and then, you know, the council. So I appreciate the work that everybody's doing in it. So, and you, thanks for the shorter versions of stuff.
So speaking of staff, we have a lot of papers there. You don't have to present any of that, do you?
No, we're good.
Okay.
We have no additional presentation. Ken was very thorough in his presentation. We do recommend approval, and we do appreciate the applicant working with staff on this one.
Okay, is there anyone else that wishes to speak? I think we're pretty good. Well, we're going to close the hearing. Can you get a motion and a second to approve?
Make a motion that we approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
Negative.
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
5-0, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. And I heard all the very positive comments about Avenir. It would be worth, if you have the opportunity, you really need to go a little further past the golf course and go take a look at what's going on out there. It is really amazing on where it is.
I drive by it a lot.
Go by it this week.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to get Rosa and that crew to bring me out there and do another whole four-wheel drive trip while we still can.
Very neat.
All right, thank you, and thanks again. That's all we have on our agenda. Items for council action and discussion. There was some discussion that was sent to the council. I think each of us received an email from the town of Palm Beach in regards to their resolution number 122, 2019. This is a resolution that the town and council of Palm Beach put together to encourage the state legislature to approve Senate Bill 182, and there is a House companion bill as well that relates to preemption of recyclable and polystyrene materials. You may all recall that the town of Palm Beach actually passed an ordinance to prohibit single-use plastic straws in the town of Palm Beach, but because there was a state requirement that couldn't happen, they had to have an emergency ordinance to repeal it. And now there is actually a Senate bill that's out there that is asking the legislature to pass something to reallow municipalities to pass their own ordinances in reference to single-use plastics. So the city was asked if we would support that. I thought it would be wise if, as a council, we discussed it, and if everybody's amenable to it, that we submit our own agreement to that. So I've had the conversation with the city manager already. Does anybody have any questions or want to discuss it in any way? Rochelle?
I also had a conversation with the city manager asking to support the resolution. This is a home rule issue. It may not be any ordinance or resolution that we intend to pass in the future, but we may want to. There may become a time when we want to, and we should have the right to make those decisions here and not be beholden to the Florida Retail Federation and the Florida Restaurant Lodging Association and their donations to our state legislators, which is the force behind the preemption right now. So I'm all for a resolution from our council, similar to the one that Palm Beach passed to support the House bill and the Senate bill.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point, Rochelle, in stating that we don't know if we're going to want to try to pass some type of ordinance in the city, but we want to let the legislators know that we are very much opposed to them telling us what we can and can't do when it comes to issues of home rule, and I think that's the whole point. Matt, do you have any comments? Maria?
I am all for the home rule, protection of home rule, but normally when we're doing something like this, we try to get a little bit more input. So have we talked to the PGA Corridor Association or any of our other stakeholders and gotten input from them?
I've received no direction from the council yet, so the answer would be
Well,
no.
In
I
terms
I
of
think
that, I thought we were
that
waiting.
might be a good move to make for inclusion of the business community as well as the public. See how that feel, but I don't know if you're looking at a resolution relative to preemption, or if you're looking at a resolution relative to plastic bags and styrofoam
Preemption.
containers.
Preemption is what
At
we're
this
looking
point, just supporting removing the preemption language from the state bill on plastics. That's what the town of Palm Beach is asking in their resolution 122. And they repealed that language. The sample of the bill, we got two. And it just repeals the part saying that the cities can't preempt, can't ban if they want to. I mean, they're on the water. Jupiter's on the water. Juneau, Tequesta, the other cities that are impacted at the beach need to be able to do what they need to do as quick as they can, and having the preemptions in the state law. That really, to me, I don't see where the Corridor Association comes in, except as an organization, they themselves can support removing the ban. We don't have to pass a resolution banning plastics without the Corridor. I think that's where we would bring the Corridor Association in to talk about business and the city if we're going to make that decision. This will just give us the ability at some point to make a decision if we want to.
Make sense?
I'll try.
So again, this is just not, this
Preemption.
is not asking to pass a resolution to, or try to pass an ordinance to prohibit plastics in our city. This is just trying to support our neighbor in their request to the legislature to remove the preemption.
Let me
Yes.
give another side of it. First off, we have a state, okay, and I'm going to ask Max to clarify on what the state law is. And right now, we have a state law in place that they can't ban plastics. So I think we should take baby steps when it comes to getting involved with an oceanfront city, whether it be Jupiter or Palm Beach, when we have 100 and something restaurants up and down our corridor, and we really need an educational campaign on what our business community would want to do, and really get exposure and see if there's some sort of project that, to begin with, that on a volunteer basis through the Corridor Association, and then maybe we can move forward that way. But signing something that's really going to be insignificant, I'm not really for.
That all comes later. The home rule issue, that we should have the right to make that decision.
I'm all in
with
for
the
home
Corridor.
rule, but why does it have to be for plastics when everybody else in the world is jumping on
Because
plastics?
plastics are a big problem worldwide
had-
right now.
I haven't had any of the corridor people come to me discuss banning plastics, or any of my constituents or anybody in the restaurants wanting to make that movement towards banning plastics.
Anywhere you go, for example, outside of our area, you don't get a plastic bag, you don't get a straw, you don't get bottles. So it's happening all around the country. We should just have the ability to decide when we want, if we want to do it. We're not deciding that, but the state shouldn't have, because they're getting money from the Federation and the Retail Federation and getting their dollars for reelection that way. They shouldn't have the ability to make that decision for us.
Okay, let's bring it back. Remember, we're not trying to talk about whether or not we want to pass anything in regards to plastics. We're talking about wanting to support the town of Palm Beach's resolution asking the legislators to remove the preemption. That's all we're talking about here today. So I don't want to get into a debate about whether or not the city wants to try to limit or eliminate plastics. We have the chamber has the Palm Beach West Chamber of Commerce has this the Environmental and Sustainability Committee, which is working right now to develop some type of policy that the Chamber of Commerce is going to put together in terms of all of these other issues, which we as a council decided last month to wait to hear what they're going to say before we discuss any type of resolutions or ordinances in regards to those types of policies. That's not what we're talking about tonight.
All right, so just while we're here, and just because it was brought up, I'd like Max to clarify exactly what the state law is.
Well, the state law, it basically just prohibits local governments, it preempts local governments from the ability to regulate plastics, polystyrene, single-use plastic bags, straws. and reserves that.
Straws was vetoed by the governor, so straws
Well,
aren't included.
Yeah, but it's all part of, anyway, they're preempted from these things so that they can, so it prevents you from then, under home rule, adopting your own municipality by municipality or county by county regulation. That's the big issue. And this bill was submitted by a legislator, and they'll try and see if they can get it to move forward. The prognosis for this bill, if you will, is not very good. So it's just really, it's a decision for the council to make whether or not you want to expend your political capital on it or not. It's not about whether it's a good idea. That's a decision for the five of you to make. As most of you know, typically bills in the House and the Senate during the session, unless they have broad-based support, i.e. in this particular instance, because of the makeup right now being supported by the dominant party, they don't typically make it out of committee the first year. If they make it out of committee the second year, they don't make it to the floor for a vote, and then they might have a chance of getting a vote and passing on the third year. And that's typically, even when they're supported, lukewarm. I don't know that, from what we've been able to determine thus far, there's virtually no support for this bill in the House and the Senate at the Tallahassee level. But if it's the council's desire to adopt a resolution supporting it, that's certainly within your authority to do so. And we could model it somewhat after Palm Beaches. Palm Beaches is not just about, hey, home rule, repeal it. It's about the evil of plastic and polystyrene, and that they want to readopt their ordinance. And that may be what you guys want to do. I don't know. But that's the decision the direction that we would have to have.
The direction, if I can just, because it hurts listening to you talk, but I know exactly what you're trying to say, and I'm not trying to say that in a negative way, just your voice is not there. But basically, no, we're not looking to do anything other than support the town of Palm Beach, to ask the legislators, and we understand the limitations of what the legislature is going to do. We're not naive enough to think that they're going to do what we think is the right thing, because Florida is a big state, and it is represented by lots of people that are not necessarily on the coast or have constituencies that care about the use of single-use plastics in their communities. So we will eventually get to some type of discussion about that in the future, I would think, after the Chambers Committee has their final report. And in that report is going to come discussions with the Corridor Association and the business community as well. This is simply saying, do we want, as a city, to support our neighbor and ask for us to sign on to their resolution to ask for the preemption to be lifted? That's as simple as what it is. And Matthew, you haven't said anything. Do you have any suggestion or comment?
The two issues that are most important to me are education and the environment. Anything I can do to forward either of those, I'm going to do. So I will support it.
Do you have any other comment, Carl?
Other than I don't know what Palm Beach is going to benefit by us signing on to.
So there's two things. It's one thing, if you can't, this is a global picture and question, because we all get hit with social questions and issues. Can the city of Palm Beach Gardens pass ordinances that are in opposition to what the state or county does? That's a debate that you have to have separately. This is not what we're trying to do here. We're not putting the city at risk of anything other than making a policy decision or statement to ask that we support Palm Beach, the town of Palm Beach, and others to ask the legislators to consider lifting their preemption rules. That's it. And I don't think there's anything controversial about that.
I don't even think our resolution isn't supported the town of Palm Beach. It's in support of the Senate bill and the House companion bill on home rule grounds that is what is actually prohibiting Palm Beach. There's also an education campaign going on. There were educational materials enclosed with what we got. There is an online petition signing that is gaining momentum across the state. And as the environmental groups and the cities across the state pick it up, they want the governor and they want the legislators to know. The governor took a bold step by vetoing the legislation that was going to ban straws. He said no. He's been a big advocate for water, and he's working really hard to help the state solve some of the environmental issues we have around the area of water. So it's not a given that it won't happen. It may not happen this time, but I think for us to take a stand and say, we want the right to do this, you shouldn't have the right to tell us what to do, is important.
All right, so I'm going to agree with you, but once it gets to the point, whatever happens up in the state, whether it passes or whether it doesn't, you know, once it gets back on our plate again and we start making these choices, it really has to be unique to what our needs are, period. And then global research within the community on really what fits the needs of our corridor and everything else. So if we're simply, you know, I like the idea of supporting it for the fact that we're really making sure the foundation of we have the right for home rule. And that's most important, that we have the right to do what's best for our community. So
Did he just take
I
your-
do agree with that part. Maria?
Go ahead,
Well,
Maria.
we are all part of the League of Cities, the Palm Beach County League of Cities. I sit on the board. Rochelle is on one of the subcommittees. We are part of the Florida League of Cities. We're a part of the National League of Cities. And one of the reasons that we are part of all these organizations is for the protection of our home rule rights. Now, whether we agree on what this says, what we do agree on is that the state shouldn't be telling the city what they can and can't do.
That we agree on.
So that is what the resolution should be reflecting.
Correct.
Max?
Did I say that for
Max
for all
said
of us, Max?
So,
Okay.
If we gear it towards that foundation instead of
So-
get away from the plastic issue.
so Max got
I'll draft
it?
something and bring it back to you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Any other items of council action or discussion? I know Max has a city attorney report. Does anyone else have anything they want to bring up? No? Okay, Max?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. As all of you know, we recently severed our ties with the restaurant operator for the golf club, and we're currently winding up and resolving those contractual issues currently. We're in negotiation, trying to settle all those items. There have been some contentious moments here and there, and some lead me to believe that we may reach an amicable resolution, and some that lead me to believe that we may not. If we can resolve it, that would be great, but what I'm asking tonight is for the council to authorize me to file a lawsuit if necessary to press forward our interests, of course with the consent and agreement of the city manager. The reason I'm asking for it is that if these discussions deteriorate and I feel the need to move forward, it may be between our meetings where we don't have a chance to come back to you. And I know Mr. Lane, Councilmember Lane understands this, as sometimes it's the one, you want to be the one to actually throw the first punch. And tactically speaking, in litigation, sometimes that's a significant advantage. And I think that's why I'm asking for this from you tonight, so that we would actually have that advantage if necessary. You all know that I have historically done just about everything I can to avoid getting the city into litigation, because I don't feel that it's the best use of our taxpayer dollars. My job is to try to keep you out of litigation. But this is one of those instances where if you think there's going to be a fight, sometimes the best thing to do is start it, and we just need to have that ability. So what I'm asking for tonight is a motion and a vote authorizing me to file a lawsuit against our former operator and his ancillary companies and any of the members associated with those companies if necessary.
Can I get a motion and a second to support the city attorney's request?
I'll make a motion.
All in favor? Aye. All approves 5-0. Thank you, Max. We trust you will do the right thing as always. Is there any other comments from the city attorney?
Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah.
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, be safe, come out and visit us at the tree lighting.
Tomorrow night.
Go to the
Meeting-
mall.
Meeting's adjourned.